So I know we're slightly halfway, maybe a little bit more than halfway through the year, but this is actually, I think, the perfect time to reflect on the intentions we set back in January and whether they still feel aligned. And if not, maybe it's time to release them. So for the last 5 months of 2025, I want you to ask yourself, what can I leave behind this year? What is no longer serving me so I don't carry it into 2026? Because it's not just the stuff we need to let go of, it's our survival habits. It's the stories that no longer serve us, or maybe the stories that were never ours to begin with, the stories that were never ours to hold. There are 7 things that I think we should all reflect on and see if it makes sense to leave behind in 2025. The first is perfectionism. I think perfectionism serves us at certain points in our life, but then there's many times that it does not serve us. It's there, I think it has kept us safe. And maybe at one point in our life, it has given us, I guess, the control over our lives. But now, I think what it is, it's an invisible cage around us. And it prevents us from moving forward and actually doing what we need to do. And I think the cage keeps us stuck in doubting from ever really starting something we have our mind set on. Just a recent example, I spent hours, and I do mean hours, perfecting a recent thumbnail for a YouTube video. And no matter what I did, I felt like it wasn't right. It needed to be a little bit tweaked, whether it was the colors of the words or the positioning of the words. Hours. And finally uploaded it. And you know what? The video didn't do well to begin with. And I spent so much time on that because I wanted it to be perfect. And I'm not saying something like that, you shouldn't try your best. But at some point, you just got to say enough is enough. Let it go. Have it be a little bit messy. So I think perfectionism can keep us stuck. So second one is I think we need to stop over explaining ourselves. We need to stop trying to convince people to understand myself, yourself. We can all have our own thoughts and opinions, and there's plenty of space at the table for all of us. You don't need to convince somebody of what you believe, whether it's around politics, religion, raising your children, whatever it is. You don't need somebody to believe what you believe. And to be honest, if your convictions are that strong to begin with, you really don't need anybody else to subscribe to them. You don't need anyone else to co-sign for them. So there's enough space for all of us. And I think it's all worthy of us to keep an open mind. It's great to have our opinions. I think we need that. But it's also okay for other people to have their opinions. Number 3 would be emotional hoarding, if you will. And I'm guilty of this myself. And this is something I've had to learn a lot through life. And people have shame and guilt that they've been storing sometimes for decades, and they carry it around like it's gold, right? They carry this version of themselves from their past, and they feel that it still defines them. It doesn't, okay? You can let it go. And I think what we need to remember is we've all made choices. We've all made choices maybe that we're not so proud of. But instead of carrying those as that shame and guilt as a punishment, how about looking at it as maybe something you've learned from it, or maybe it's become the foundation of your purpose. So I think what we need to do is we need to stop committing to letting guilt and shame define who we are. And I think we need to learn to let go of it, or maybe to reframe and make it into something more powerful or empowering. I know when I had placed my daughter up for adoption when I was 16, I carried so much guilt around with me, and I let that define me for decades. For decades, I felt I was not worthy of anything I got in life, even though I was striving, even though I finished high school, even though I went to college, even though I was getting promotion after promotion in my corporate career. I still felt like I was an imposter and I did not deserve what I got, which is not true at all. I had to learn that what happened in my past does not define who I am today. And I think that's what we need to learn, is that whatever has happened, and if there's shame and guilt surrounding your life, let it go. And maybe there's something you've done that you need to ask forgiveness for, or maybe you need to forgive somebody. You might say, yeah, but Lori, the other person, they're not ready to forgive me yet. You know what? That's not on you. If from your heart you're truly ready to forgive somebody or ask for forgiveness, that's all you can do. As long as you're genuine, as long as you're authentic. The other person, you are not responsible for the other person. They have their own path to walk. They have their own journey. And actually, by not asking for forgiveness or giving forgiveness, you're doing them a disservice because, again, they need to go through their own growth journey. So I think do what you need to do to get yourself whole, but I think you need to let go of the shame and guilt and make a commitment to yourself to leave it in 2025. Don't carry it with you anymore. It's over, all right? You no longer need to punish yourself. Number 4 is the clutter in our lives. I talk about this so often, and I will continue to repeat it because it's worth repeating. Clutter of any kind, whether it's digital, physical, emotional, you have to release it. You have to get rid of it. And I know anybody who's ever done any type of decluttering, I know 100% you will agree with me that as soon as you do it, you feel a lightness that is beyond words, right? You feel a little bit lighter. You feel just like you can think again, like you can breathe again, like it just gives you space. It gives you space to grow, to be somebody that you're trying to be. I know maybe it sounds so superficial, but it isn't. It really isn't. And I have learned this. Dramatically. I know I've shared that growing up, even into my teenage years, even when I first became a young adult, I lived with poverty. Okay, so when I finally started working and getting some money, I worked full time, 3 different jobs when I was putting myself through school. And not that I had a lot of money by any means, but I had money. I never had money before. And unfortunately, I probably spent more than I should have. But I was also so afraid of letting things go. And not that I was a hoarder in any way. It wasn't like that because I was also a perfectionist back then where everything had to be in its place, everything needed a spot. But I was so afraid to let it go. And it probably wasn't until in my 40s that I said, you know what, enough is enough. And I started clearing things out. And the transformation that I felt from the decluttering brought me to a whole new level. And again, it goes beyond the physical stuff. It goes in a world of digital. We have probably on my browser here, I probably have 15 tabs open. You only need 3 or 4 open at a time. Shut things down. Clean out your mailbox. If you have things in there from 30 days ago that you haven't read, you're not going to read them. Get rid of them. So decluttering is really important. It's really important for your peace of mind, for your heart, for your soul, and it will propel you to another level. It's kind of like shedding an old life, shedding the old skin, right? You just got to let it go. Start small. I say all the time, start small because it can be overwhelming. Start with the closet, start with the junk drawer, start with your email, but just start. Number 5 that we need to let go of in 2025 is the toxic self-talk. I don't care who I'm talking to here. We are our own worst critic. And I work on this often. And I still hear the voice every now and again in my head. And I think what we need in our head is more of a coach than a bully. And it's time to rewrite that voice. And when you hear that inner critic start chirping, just pause, right? And say, stop. I hear you. And I thank you for trying to protect me. But I'm okay. I'm okay. Please just sit back. Trust me, I got this, and just let that voice know you're okay. Number 6, I think we need to take an inventory of our dreams, right? Not every dream that we've ever had is ours. I think some dreams in our life we've inherited, whether it was from our parents, from a well-meaning friend, maybe a partner, and I think we need to take stock of that. What is our dream? Now, I'm not talking about dreams that you've had since maybe you were a kid or a young adult that you're trying to achieve. My goodness, if that's a dream, hold on to those ones. And we'll talk about that in another episode, how to bring that dream forward. I'm talking about dreams that are outdated, that just no longer serve you. And even though I do think family and friends have very good intentions, and I think they mean well, but I think on a subconscious level, they may not want you to step outside that circle of yours, right? Because I think if you succeed or if you step outside, then they may have to stop and reflect on their own life and maybe face some of the stories they've been telling themselves. And I think that scares people. Change scares people. I think some dreams, at least in my instance, some dreams maybe are not dreams at all, but they were survival strategies, right? If you've seen some of my other videos where I made a commitment to myself when I was 16 that I was going to become somebody. And when I got into corporate America and I was striving to just keep climbing that ladder and to be rated the highest. And I think that dream was born out of the need for feeling safe and stable and obviously secure, right? That having been raised within poverty, having the financial stability in my life was important. But when I look at that now, my dreams look very different, very, very different. And the dreams I have now, I feel like are really my own, and they're not out of being scared or trying to survive. And I think this is the year that you really need to honor your dream. So you need to stop, pause, and validate the dreams that you have. And if your dream no longer aligns, then make space for the new dreams, right? Let the new dreams fit who you are becoming. Number 7 is I think we need to leave the fear of being seen behind. I think far too often I see people shrinking when they're around other folks. I think we dim our own lights, and I've been guilty of this, so I'm not throwing any shade on anybody or passing any judgment on anybody. But I think we dim our own lights so that someone else in our circle can shine a bit brighter. That's not your job. That is not your job to make them shine brighter. That is something they need to figure out. And again, you're doing them a disservice. They need to figure out their own path. So just be who you are and trust that they will find their own path. But in the meantime, the world does not need a watered down version of yourself. It needs you. It needs the real you. So those are the 7 things that you should reflect upon. And what can you leave in 2025 so that you can make space for 2026? I just think it's the perfect time of year. There's 5 months left of this year. And I think it's a good time to go back and, yes, prepare yourself for the coming year. So let's intentionally make choices that set us up for a very successful 2026. And in closing, I just want to say letting go of these things isn't giving up. It's helping you step into who you're meant to be and helping you grow into your soul-filled self. It's shedding that old version of yourself so that you can breathe easier, so you can walk into next year a little bit closer to who you're meant to be. So let me ask, what's one thing you're going to choose to leave behind this year? I'd love to hear about it. Put it in the comments below. I read every single one. I'd love to hear it. Think about it. What's one thing that you can leave in 2025? Just one. And I do like to close out all my videos with an AI hack. So I will leave this down in the description. I really hope this helped in some way. And if it did, please share it with somebody else. Maybe there's somebody else in your circle that is also ready to maybe release some things or leave some old version of themselves behind in 2025 and prepare them for 2026. Please remember, you are enough just the way you are. You are the hero of your own story. And I love every time that you come and sit with me and give me the opportunity to serve you. That's it. Love you guys. And I will talk to you in the next video.